Well, build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance.
Hello everybody, welcome to Longbangers in association with Leeds Spirits. I'm Matty.
Good evening, Colin.
I'm John.
And Happy New Year to you both. Happy New Year to the listeners as well. Hope everybody had a good time at the Bells. Were you up to much?
Watched a film with the missus, went to bed about 11:30, stayed up flicking through TikTok for half an hour, gave her a kiss, said Happy New Year, went to sleep.
Were you calling me as rock and roll as that?
I stayed up. I didn't go out. I was earlier in the year. I nearly had tickets for Pulp. Like I had them in my basket, and then I grudged paying it for the 4 years that I was going to buy. And it was like, fuck, that's too dear. And then the hassle of getting home and that, so I ended up not doing it. But then the other night, I was like, wish I'd bought the tickets. So no, we stayed in and just watched. We watched Kevin Bridges, the new one, earlier on, and then put on Jules Holland. She was all right.
Have we done Kevin Bridges as a true or false before?
Probably not. I don't recall it.
I'll keep that for later then.
Worth watching, though.
If somebody can remind me.
I keep it for short baggers.
Right, Motherwell today, back to league business after the Derby defeat last week. 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. A bit of a stupid kick-off time, or all right because it was the 2nd of January. What do you think?
Well, I thought it was, but actually the attendance was all right. So maybe suggests it is okay. I just feel it's strange because it's pretty normal to be working that day now. I know that, and I know Scottish people, independent supporters, and that'll say it's a Scottish holiday and that. It isn't really anymore. Like there is companies that have it off, like. I guess folk that were maybe busy over Christmas and that seem to shut to maybe the 4th of January and stuff, bakers, butchers, and all these kind of things.
Candlestick makers.
but the majority of places, it's a working day, But it was a whole fixture card today. So it's no... I don't know. I just thought it was a bit strange to do it. But I had noticed that. And I think I messaged you guys earlier in the year.
You did.
Late last year, December, and said, the Motherwell game's a fucking Tuesday at 3 o'clock. And as we've said, I managed to get there as a working day, but I know there was people that couldn't because it couldn't work and because of work. But then the crowd, I know they announced the crowd at 16,000, 17,000. Probably wasn't that many in there, but it was actually 5 minutes before kickoff. I thought nobody's here, but actually by the time the game started, it was pretty full.
John, talk about the game and the team. So obviously we were minus a few players due to international duty. I'll include Molotnikov just because he was a player that wasn't available, but didn't really impact the first team. But more pertinently, Rocky, Boyle, and Miller all missing today. What did you think of the lineup that went out? Are you happy with it?
Reasonably excited and optimistic by it. I think in some of our previous episodes we discussed some of the things that were potentially missing for the side. And I think, if I remember correctly, we talked about Boyle and his contribution and whether he was wasted up front and what have you. So I thought missing, was it 4 players? Although you said Walcott hasn't really impacted the first team. I think those...
Yeah, Campbell was injured as well. So if you want to include him rather, that gives you an extra player that we were missing.
As much as it left us, as much as the squad's a bit thin with the players being injured and the players being away on international duty, I thought there was enforced changes with the likes of, say, Youan going on the right, Dodge going up front. I actually thought it made us look a stronger starting 11. So I was reasonably optimistic and excited by the game ahead. And then first half, I was like, oh fuck, this could be us for the rest of the season. Maybe this is where it finally starts to click.
It did have that look about it, Colin, that it clicked for a wee bit of that first half.
First 20, maybe even 30 minutes was pretty decent. They were looking lively, just didn't get the goals. I was going to say as usual, but we just didn't get the goals when we should have. We had chances. I thought we looked good the first 20 minutes. I was alright with the team as well, but then it's just a depth. You look at the bench and go, oof, it's just all laddies.
We were joking earlier about the mascots. I put the tweet out about it saying it would be a good day to be a mascot because you get a place on the bench as well. And it was full of the young players. We also had Harry McKirdy on the bench as well. I'd be surprised to see him there. We were talking before the game, I should probably say well done to all the folk who won tickets for the game today. So Colin and I stood outside the famous five to make sure the prize winners got their tickets. And thanks to everybody who said hello to us. We were talking about McKirdy, didn't actually think he'd play. It was like one of these ones, just like probably needed to fill a seat on the bench, so to put him in. But it was good to see him come on. Nice reception for the Hibs fans as well as you would expect. Kind of warm welcome as he ran out to warm up. That first, I would say probably first half hour, I thought we were pretty good. John, probably the highlight for me was Tavares. What did you make of his performance during that spell?
I think we're probably, listeners may be sick of the whole redemption art thing, and I wonder if that's maybe tailed off a wee bit. However, I think out of the three sort of exciting wide players that we've got, he's probably the pick of the three of them. So the other two being Youan and Boyle. I think he's starting to come on to be like a really valuable addition to the Hibs squad, both like going forward and defensively as well. I don't remember anything for today's game where he made any sort of like glaring mistakes or put us into any bother. The one thing I would say is that after that sort of like initial half-hour period, I think he was maybe marked out the game a little bit or started to fall off. But there was definitely spells in the second half as well where once Hibs got the ball to him, he was definitely putting Motherwell under pressure, albeit maybe the final product wasn't particularly great. But him and Abita seem to have developed a bit more of an understanding down the left-hand side. Like there seems to be more from Tavares going forward and a bit more understanding about kind of like who's going forward and who's sticking, and maybe Tavares laying the ball off to Abita for a ball into the box. And to be fair, like I've been critical of Abita in the past, and I've wondered whether he was much of an upgrade on Stevenson, but actually some of his deliveries of late, particularly from sort of like a bit deeper, like he's not really hitting the byline. But the balls at the box are pretty dangerous. But probably in keeping with a lot of Hibs' performance today, there was a lot of dangerous balls at the box that we weren't able to capitalise on.
It was like having Chris Cadden back again, Colin, wasn't it? With some of the crosses that were going in.
It's funny.
I got picked up. Sorry, John. I got picked up on the one of the group chats because I'd say Tavares was good, but there's no line product. But somebody says he's put 3 or 4 good crosses in.
He did.
Did he? Maybe he did. And I used to defend Cadden for the very same thing, didn't I? So it did make me sort of double think.
It's really, really strange. I can't remember exactly what period it was. I think it was in the second half where we were pinging balls at the box, and I had that same feeling because I think Kevin Harper on my totally legitimate stream was talking about getting balls into the box early, and I cast my mind back to when it was Nisbet and Cadden and balls going into the box. Like, is it up to Cadden to deliver a good ball, or is it up to Nisbet to be anticipating where the ball was going to end up and get into that area? And it felt similar to that today.
Part of the problem having Venti playing so deep, I thought it might have made a difference with Doige playing, that you maybe would have seen Venti a bit more in the box, but there was like 2 really early on where Jair put in cracking crosses and they were just begging for a touch for a centre forward. And that
just
was
somebody slide in, get a touch.
You think it's a sort of goal Nisbet maybe would have popped up the score, like that sort of poacher's goal.
Somebody either mistimed it or I was in the famous 5 today, so I don't know if it was at the other end, but it came across and it either got deflected before it got to them or they completely mistimed it. Maybe Youan with the back post. That looked like it was going to be a nice, easy sort of tap in, if you like, but just made a fucking mess of it for whatever reason.
We did eventually get the goal. Colin, what did you make of the goal?
It was good to play. It was talk you through it. So what I remember is Whittaker giving it to Youan on the right hand side, and Youan maybe beating 2 people and then getting a shot away. Looked like he might have deflected in, taking a touch with the defender, not as much as the second one, but they just nicked it past the keeper. It was a good bit of play. I thought Whittaker was doing all right until that point, and then he got the assist or the goal involvement or whatever the fuck we call it now, XPG or something probably. Probably got a 3-letter acronym. But and that was I thought it was going to be played. There was something, I can't remember what happened before. Did Newell maybe won it in the middle of the park actually, go to Whittaker, and he gave it into Youan, who finished it quite well.
And at that point, John, when we went 1-0 up and the way the game was going, probably looked like if we'd got another goal, then it could have been anything.
Aye, I think that's reasonably fair. I think we were so I did a wee bit. I'm going to loosely call it analysis, but Colin and I talked about it last week with the Celtic game being the sort of when things started to change. So before that, it was like the number of chances that were creating, the number of shots that were getting on target, and how it basically jumped off a cliff after the Celtic game. And I thought that today's first half performance up to and including the first goal was as good as we looked for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so to go back to your question, it did look like we would go on and score more because like we were creating chances, we were comfortable and we were confident going forward, and it didn't look like we were laps at the back. I don't remember Motherwell having too much in the way of chances during that opening spell, and then we made a mistake.
Talk us through the mistake then, like the first goal that we conceded, because it was a sore one.
It was just so if you cast your mind back to Hibs Aberdeen at Hampden, I remember talking about it where I said like it was just like it was a momentary like look one way. It was either watching the ball or it was just Whittaker was happening to look in one direction, and that was it. Like it was just that split second, and it changed everything. I forget the Motherwell player's name, but he's just seized on the opportunity. He seized on that momentary mistake and scored. And I think Whittaker's aware of the mistake that he's made, and I think that's maybe played on him a little bit, maybe throughout the next sort of 15 minutes of the first half, and maybe like going into the second half, because it seemed like he'd got an almost, I want to say like happy feet, like a bit nervous, and what he was trying to do. And the commentators had picked up on it as well, where they were talking about making sure that he just completed a couple of passes just to kind of like steady himself again. And I know there was a bit of concern before the game that Motherwell would target that right hand side, and I think we've had our concerns possibly as Hibs fans that Youan wouldn't do much to help Whittaker out defensively, but I didn't see much evidence of that. I think it was just, like I say, like that one little mistake got Motherwell back into it, and I think it kind of had shades of previous Hibs sides where we were doing everything right, and suddenly one wee mistake results in a goal, and that's it. The Arses start going.
It was a sort of game-defining moment, Colin, because after that, Hibs struggled. I thought like it was like a switch went. How do you legislate for that? Like, how do you go from playing so well to having that wee bit of adversity and then just the arse falling into performance for the next, I don't know, like at least until half time?
I know. I don't know. It's like it was just a basic mistake, but then he's just a laddie playing a man's game, eh? And it just, that's what it was. It was like the guy, the experience or whatever, just going, he's not even paying attention. You know what I mean? And I know, 16-year-olds have got to do that, but he's only 16, and I do want to start getting it as an excuse, because I'm one of the ones that say if you're good enough, you're old enough, and you're 24, you're not a bairn anymore and all that. So he needs to learn quickly. But I don't know how the rest of the team. There was experienced players in that team that should be helping them out and try to raise everybody else back and keep that focus, because we've got an experienced team there, like Marshall, Hanlon, Newell, Deutsch. You know, there's an experienced spine of players there. I've put in Obita, isn't he young? You know what I mean? It's an experienced side with a young lad. He should be able to cope, and he's got to make mistakes. We just need to accept that. We want to play young laddies. We want to support them. They've got to make mistakes. That's just the way it is, right? So you need somebody to help them out, and then keep it going after that. And I'm maybe going down the road here going the lack of leadership. I don't know. Is that where I was going with that, George? You know, it's for your bingo card. I don't know. But the was there a wee bit. That's where you're looking at these guys to drag him back up and make sure he gets a touch.
It's an interesting point. There was a moment I clocked in the second half. Whittaker played a ball sort of almost into the channel. It wasn't quite a hit and hope pass, right? But he's knocked it up, and Deutsch and Vente both got on him for the pass,
Did
with the arms up, and
Yeah.
and I clocked it at the
I
time.
didn't like that, actually.
It's interesting because Ken Whitaker's had the mistake for the goal when he came into the team the first time. Everybody it was like that encouragement, and you wonder if it's the fact that he's been in and around the first team for so long now that actually the expectation of everybody else on him goes up, and they just treat him like another
Which,
member of the
where he wants to be.
exactly. But I don't know whether it would help if they just remembered for time to time to actually can that
The crowd didn't give him that one either, though, because the crowd all went and roared at that one as well.
They did. But I found it interesting at the time when I watched it, and I was like, I'm not sure I liked it. But then there was part of me saying, well, that's where you're at that level. There's no room for sort of carrying folk.
I feel a bit hypocrite here at times because I feel like I'm thinking, I'm too much because he's like the same age as one of my daughters. You know what I mean? It's like he's just a fucking bear. But when McKirdy went roaring at somebody last season, I can't remember who it was. I was like, that's fucking brilliant. That's what we want to see. Kenny's like, he's straight on it. He wasn't roaring, he was, but he was like
demanding.
It was like positive encouragement, demanding. Aye. And that's what Benty and Deutsch and somebody else. There was more than that. There was a few hands went up when he done that, by the way, because I noticed that I was behind the goal, so it was quite a good view of that at that time. And I didn't feel like I liked it, but then I thought, but now I'm thinking about it, I thought I liked McKirdy doing it last year though.
Aye.
So,
but I think the justification for the likes of or McKirdy, if I'm remembering correctly, was McKirdy had played internationally, he'd played Champions League, he'd played abroad, like he'd played at a high level, and I think your justification was, well, those demands that he set for himself and demands that were expected of him at Celtic, that's what he's trying to transmit to the rest of the squad. So I don't know how I feel about the likes of, like, say, Deutsch, Venti, etc., having a go at Whitaker. And I think about Whitaker as well, and I've always been a fan of the young, the the young guy coming through the academy, because it's like an extension of ourselves. We want them to see them do well. He's had, 5, 6 games? Like, I don't even know how many starts it is that he's had, but it's very, very few. And you've got guys there like Venti, Deutsch has got like a good couple of hundred games under his belt. So if there's numerous players there that are giving Whitaker a hard time, I think that's a bit fucking shit, to be perfectly honest. Like, not the the expectation level
reaction rather than I don't even know. Like as Matthew was saying there, I think they would have roared at anybody for that, because I don't think they went, "Oh, it's Whitaker, I'm going to moan at him." It's almost like, that's a shit ball. What's that? Which is the automatic reaction that the crowd done as well.
Aye.
And then went, "Oh, it's the laddie, do we give him leeway?" So it's almost that. Well, but I don't focus too much on him, because he needs to learn and make mistakes, and hopefully he'll just punt it away the next time.
What I would say with Whitaker, I would say this before, is he didn't hide, didn't go into his shell, even after the mistake in the first half. Like, he still was looking for the ball, showing for it, and I always think that says, like, you expect any young player. 16 is really young for a player breaking through. Normally, when we're talking about young players, like we talked about Josh Campbell or Purchase, who was 19. So that's still like 3 years of football that he's had ahead of where Whitaker is. And it is first team, and we assess the players as first team players because, again, that's the level that they're at. But you're going to expect them to make a few mistakes, and where you see the character of somebody is what happens after the mistake. And Whitaker didn't hide. I didn't think. I think he went missing in the game, or even just try to start doing the really basic stuff. So kind of what you were saying, John, there about the commentator saying he needs to just get his foot in the ball, make a couple of simple passes. I think Whitaker still kept trying to play as he was playing before the mistake, which is credit to him. Aye. Anyway, right. Second half, a lot of huffing and puffing again. I thought we started all right, but it was Motherwell just sat in. I thought they were quite happy to just absorb the pressure. They got it back to 1-1. They didn't look like they were that interested in attacking, but they were counter-attacking well. And then I'm trying to remember, was it Levitt give away the foul?
Aye. One of the ones when the boy, not quite as thing as he did against the Hearts the other night, but he did pull the guy down because the boy had.
Is that? I remember the foul. I didn't realise that's kind of what immediately preceded the free kick.
Aye. So I think Newell missed the ball initially. So Newell's going to have to tackle, missed it completely. And then Levitt's taking the boy down. Stevenson comes on for Whitaker, who got injured in that passage of play. And then next thing, there's a kind of bit of head tennis, I think, and the ball's in the back of the net. It looked a typically Hibs goal to lose, like kind of one of these ones where Motherwell put the big boys up, launched it in, and we just again always seem to struggle to cope with it.
Hannon cleared it, but he cleared it out to two guys that were standing on their own on the penalty spot. Could you see they're back into the mixer again? It was a bit shit.
They did the VAR check for offside. Now I've not seen the lines, but there was a bit of chat on one of the WhatsApp groups about and actually I think on Hibs.net as well. And I was looking to say that
I've not seen it.
Where they've drawn the lines is like mind blowing. For what I gather is like they've no used the
graphic on screen. I think there was Harper was talking about it, and I thought it was pretty immaterial at that point because it was more fucked off with Hibs losing what was a shitey typical Hibs goal. But I think what Harper had said was about the shoulder, Hanlon's shoulder that they use, and this is the thing that I can't be arsed with when it comes to like the offside rule. Like when you get into granular detail, like which shoulder was the line drawn at, I couldn't care less.
Fair enough. So have you seen the lines then, John? Was it close?
Was
the offside close? I've not seen it back yet. Like I only saw.
I mean, there was game, definitely. But... To be fair, like as much as I said there about like not being asked about like the lines and what have you, like there was definitely a suggestion of offside because of where Hanlon was and where, like, so Hanlon's facing out the way, and the Motherwell player, I think his knee, which is I think. Correct me if I'm wrong here, that's considered a body part that he could score with, and that was facing towards the goal and was ahead of Hanlon's backside, if you like. So, like, this is, as much as I was saying about like lines, I could see how it would have been, it could have been offside, but that's the whole thing about like interpretation of the laws. Like, it's not, in my opinion, clear to the layman. Like, I'm not completely up to date with the laws of the game, but I'm looking at it going, well, if you're getting to that sort of level of detail, that could be offside. And also there was a player on the post as well who was definitely in an offside position, but the game's progressed that much over the years. He's now considered not to be interfering with play. But if he's in, like, if you want to get into it, like, could the referee argue, well, he's in David Marshall's peripheral vision, therefore he's interfering with play? I don't know. It's clutching at straws stuff.
Aye. I just I thought I would give you the shout on it because you'll have seen the footage. Anyway, it wasn't given. That's kind of the bottom line is it wasn't given. So we kick off again. Monty's kind of rolled the dice. He's had to take a bit of care off since he's gone on. Other subs that he made is he brought on Molotnikov for Levitt. And was it Landers? Landers came on for Fish, and McKirdy came on for Venti. Again, Venti no seeing out a full 90 minutes. He did against Hearts, didn't he? I think played the 90 against Hearts.
I'm not sure. I can't remember.
I can't mind if he did, but so it was good to see McKirdy come on. He didn't obviously. I don't think if he actually touched the ball. We were into the closing stages of the game there. What did you make of Molotnikov's involvement in the game?
Oh, I like it. Look at him. Like he came on, he had that couple of wee dribble and a shot. Came on. I also liked about him though. This is going to maybe sound daft, but one of the Motherwell players had the ball and was trying to head up. He fucking ran over and pushed the boy, grabbed the ball off him. Kind of thought like he's a young laddie as well, and he's got a bit about him to say fuck you, give the ball. And I ken that's nothing to do with football, but it shows a bit maybe. No, mentality, do you want to call it that? Is that on the card? John the bingo card? I'm not sure, but
I do actually need to make this card. I'll maybe make a football card, like £1 a shot.
But I liked it because that wee run he had, the wee dribble he had in the shot away. I got the crowd going, and then we had a couple of other opportunities on the back of that. I like to look at him. I'd be tempted to give him a few minutes now, like. I liked him before, and he looks like a man. Like you see the size of him, he's built powerfully. Yeah, doesn't look like a boy. I know I don't know if he's 17, 18, but so he is older than Whittaker. I quite like to look at him.
John, there was I've not come to our talking points right on Twitter yet. I've not seen them to see what's in there, but I'd had a wee look at Hibs.net as I was eating my tea when I got home. Levitt was getting a lot of flack on there. And and Molotnikov was kind of getting compared. Obviously, that was a like for like sub. People seem to think that we've got a bit more energy, and Molotnikov's energy and legs, in inverted commas. Obviously, all players have legs. Well, at this level, but legs is, in terms of kind of running about the pitch, was sort of instrumental getting us back into the game. What's your thoughts on Levitt now?
I'm all right with him. Like, I know that he's had a couple of. He's had the game at St Johnstone where he's given the ball away that's resulted in the goal. There's been the stuff before that, like we've referenced the Luzerne game with him and Youan in the middle, where they were both really, really good. And he's I think when it's gone well for those two, it's gone really well. For Levitt and Newell, when it hasn't gone so well, or when it's been Levitt and Jago in the St Johnstone game, it's like the Bayern, like when they're good, when they're really good, when they're bad, they're really, really bad. I think he could be one of those players where I think because of the reputation he came with, like we've obviously spent some money on him for him. He's come from Dundee United. There's been chat about heat maps and stuff at the start of the season. Dundee United fans saying, "Oh, you've got a really good player there." But I think what's quite clear that in the sort of the day-to-day Premier League stuff, that him and Newell don't work particularly well together. And when we talked about the St Johnstone game a few weeks back, I was saying that there was a few suggestions from around me that Levitt and Jago were too similar. I think Levitt and Newell are too similar, so something needs to change in the middle of the park. So to come back to Molotnikov and what Colin was saying about him, like looking like a man, like what? It's going to sound like I'm objectifying men here, but when he came on, he's got a footballer's arse. If that makes any sense, like he's got like a footballer's stature, and it's quite rare. I think that Hibs players, that players come through like the youth academy at Hibs, and they come on and they look like footballers. Like this, the main criticism is often that they're a bit slight, they need to bulk up a bit, all that. Like I didn't see any of that in Molotnikov, and actually the one thing that you saw from Molotnikov was that sort of drive and run into the box late in the game that he didn't score from. But the only other time that I can remember Levitt being in the box of late was actually in in today's game, first half, where there was the short corner where he's got the shot away. But beyond that, I struggle to remember him being in the box too much. And I think it's that cliche of the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result. So how long do you continue with Levitt and Youan midfield in the sort of day-to-day grind of the Premier League? Like, because it's like it seems pretty apparent to me that we're missing some legs in there. And I'm not particularly educated, like football coaching or anything. I'm just looking at it going, you two guys are too similar. Like, you want to play the same sort of passes, you're occupying the same sort of area. Something needs to change.
I think my observation of Levitt, I like the thought of Levitt more than I'm liking Levitt at the minute. I think that's when he's good, I really like watching him. I like the way he manipulates the ball and that kind of thing. And when he wins the ball off players, he tends to do that kind of without going to ground and being able, how like McGeoch used to be able to do that, because take the ball for somebody and then just use his body well. What's missing for Levitt, in my opinion, is that real desire to impact the game. Like he just doesn't. He participates in the game, but doesn't always influence it. And I'd love to see him, like you say, Ken, getting into the box, like arriving late, having shots, just being busier. Like I think he kind of coasts through the game, and I don't know if you were to take his heat map or his stats and check his running distance. To me, it looks like he runs less than Newell. Like I think Newell covers more ground in the midfield than Levitt, and it might be that Levitt takes up a position that allows Newell to do that, right? So I kind of loathe to kind of compare the two. But if Levitt played to the same standard as Newell in terms of how he tries to impact the game, I could be a real player. But now the game almost passes him by too much, and that would be my criticism of Levitt.
I think that was the criticism when we signed them as well, though. Like, as much as there was an acknowledgement that they were getting a good player, it was almost like when things are going well for you, like Levitt will stand out. But when, I'm reluctant to say it, but when the chips are down, then Levitt's going to be the one that kind of looks like a bit of a luxury player.
Yeah. I read a few things earlier, just after the game, but before we started recording, about get him up behind the strikers and the 10 rule and all that kind of stuff. So I went and had a wee look to see is he listed as like an attacking midfielder or like what is it? And he hadn't scored a goal till he signed for Dundee United, and he scored 10 goals while he was at
Yeah.
Dundee United, five in one this loan spell, and then 5 when he was permanent. But it's not like he's a prolific goal scorer or anything like that. So I'm not really sure. He did score, I think it was 10 and 50 odd games for Dundee United, so I suppose that's a reasonable return for a midfielder, I guess. But I don't know, like, is he? Did we sign him as like an attacking midfielder? Are we just assuming that that's what he is because he's not doing the other job as well as we thought?
I think it's when you see the goals that he scored for Dundee United, they're like there's a right mixed bag, but a lot of kind of goals for the edge of the box, kind of in that territory. But he's just not finding himself in those positions. With us, he's sitting so much deeper, and some of that will be tactical. But I don't know. For me, like a player of his ability, if he wanted to be top level, he could do it. But he needs to start dominating games and sort of being the key man in the midfield. And I think he's happy to let Newell. Well, he's happy. No, that's maybe not the right way to put it. But you know,
yeah.
But if they both were to be as influential as Newell, we'd probably have a decent midfield too there. As it is, it doesn't quite work now. John, we did get an equaliser. It looked like the game was going to slip away for us. We're getting injury time. Youan pops up with a goal. Talk us through the equalising goal.
I'd started to slip away when I was watching it as well. I was just like, fuck, this is one of those games against, well, Motherwell, St Johnstone. Like, you can just reel them off. Like, we've been in that situation so many times where we've gone ahead and then we've conceded a shit one, and then they've got the other opposition have got the lucky one, and I've just seen the game out. So I wasn't expecting us to get back into it. And then I was sitting with my daughter. She came through. She's been expressing a bit of interest in football, so I got her cuddled up beside me. And Youan, I'm trying to remember it exactly. Like, I've not had the benefit. I've only seen it once. I've not had the benefit of watching any replays. But does he come in from the right-hand side? I don't know who plays the ball to him, but he comes in for the right-hand side and he gets a shot away. Mugabe sticks a foot out and that takes it up over the top of Liam Kelly into the roof of the net. So I wasn't really that bothered at that stage about how a goal went in. It was more just like, can we try and avoid a defeat here?
Aye. There's actually we worked the ball up well because it started off in our defence. We had one of these, the pass went back and everybody went fucking get forward, because it was that stage of the game that the crowd were getting edgy, and we actually went back and then knocked it left, attacked down the left, the ball went into the box, and Youan picked it up. I think on our right, and like you said, kind of the shot got a deflection over Ian Kelly. I can't remember if I mentioned this, but Liam. Well, it's because
Ian Kelly the fucking motor warehouse.
There was Ian Skelly. Ian Skelly. Nobody gives you more. There'll be one for nostalgia buffs there. Do you remember? Calling a draw, do you think the fair result?
Probably, based on. I think I looked at some of the stats and it was shots on target were pretty even. I think we had more shots, but I can't remember them. But I remember the ones on target are the ones that matter.
Was it something like 13 and 3? Was it 13 shots and 3 on target?
Oh, I don't know if it was
2 goals.
For us, aye.
Yeah,
and I think they had maybe 4 shots on target or something.
Do you know, I'd mentioned my wee bit of analysis previously, and one of the things that I talked about, like before the Celtic game at Easter Road, was like the number of times, like the number of shots that we had on target that was greater than the opposition. After the Celtic game, I think like 1 out of 9 games we'd managed to have more shots than the opposition. But actually, this kind of suggests like an uptick still. Like it seems like we're getting more shots and more shots on target than the opposition. So that kind of gives me a little bit of optimism, just like a little sliver of light.
I think Motherwell might have got better shots on target on us.
Sorry, they did.
Your shots were more on target.
Yeah. Whereas previously, from the Celtic game at Easter Road onwards, in all but one of the 9 games, the opposition had more shots and more shots on target than us. This is like another game. This means probably nothing, but we've had more shots than the opposition, and it's been greater than 10, which suggests to me that we're creating chances. We're not always getting them on target, but we're starting to get more of an attacking, more creativity, and we are creating more chances, which kind of suggests to me that whatever the changes are, like there's been what we were doing at the start of the season, before the Celtic game, before Tavares came back into the side, what Tavares has done since he's come into the side, that things are starting to turn back into a more Hibs-looking side earlier under Montgomery at the start of the season.
It's funny though, because at the game I was sitting thinking and saying to my daughter, actually, it doesn't feel like we're going to score. Like, it didn't feel like we were creating loads of chances, and we only had 3 shots on target. It didn't feel like with 2-1 down that we were going to score 2. You know what I mean? It just didn't. No, that's how I felt at the time. Watching it, I've just put the darts on, by the way. Talking to 16-year-olds that look like men, eh?
Aye.
Jenky was at school with Molotnikov. Do you think they went to the same school?
Maybe.
Fuck me. Like, he looks older than any of the other boys that are still in the tournament. Like, so that's it.
Right, let's get to talking points. The first one I'm going to take for a WhatsApp, right, this is for McB, who said, we've got a director of football who worked with a manager who's no longer here in summer recruitment. We've got a new manager who's implementing a system with players he didn't assemble. The last 2 managers have conflicting ideologies. LJ no interested in youth and wanted to buy. Montgomery wanting to give youth a chance and supplement. When you have such conflicting approaches, this is what you get, peaks and troughs. We all need to be patient and give this time. Stop fucking chasing managers out the door and players out the team. Now, on Montgomery, so for subscribers, we're going to record an extra time and we're going to do a wee bit of a sort of stock take on where we're at under Montgomery. This is us coming into the break now for January. We've got a few weeks, sort of almost like the halfway point in the season, isn't it? So we're going to have a wee look at where we're at and our opinions with Montgomery, how the team's doing. That's an extra time, so you can subscribe if you want to hear that. In terms of McBee's point there about patience, giving players and managers time. Yearney, what are your thoughts? Colin, I'll come to you first.
That's a good point. How we said it, it's a different. Like the last manager didn't care about the youth. Now we're putting youth in and we're trying it, but he's not had a chance to. So he's brought a system in that everybody's moaning about this formation and all that, and we've probably had a wee moan about it as well. So Vienna's too deep and all that kind of stuff. But it's like that's the formation he wants to play. That's what he's training, coaching the players into doing. But he's not got maybe the players that are capable of doing it. You've even mentioned, you said something earlier. Whittaker kept doing what he was doing before he made the mistake. It's like that's because that's what he's being coached to do.
Yes.
It's like the other ones, aren't they? Some of the other ones aren't doing what he's asking them to do. So I would expect in January he's got to go and upgrade them. I don't know who they are, but there'll be players that he goes, right, no, but then he want somebody doing that. We need somebody that does track back.
Aye.
We need an attacking left midfielder for that can find the final pass. We need a striker that can get on the end of crosses and find positions in the box, not just be floating about or whatever. He's going to go in because that's the style we're playing and that's the formation or whatever. Whatever tweaks there are to it, that's what we're playing. That's what he wants me to play. That's what he's coaching me to do. He's going to go and find better players for it. And he's not had a chance to do that. He's tried to do it with the last squad. And I've seen people saying, well, that squad finished 5th and nearly finished 3rd in that. Aye, they did. But we all moaned about it because we played players out of position. But then they came 1 week to the next. It was a tombola, all that shite. Right, so we've got a manager that plays. He's got a style, an identity, all of that. He just needs to go and get a chance to go and just get his own players in, right? Because that's another one on his card. But he needs a window, and he needs 3 windows, whatever. But he needs to go and actually get the opportunity to make that work.
Aye. And add to that, John?
Just I think McBee needs to stick to collecting football shirts, to be perfectly honest. No, I'm joking. He's my pal, so that was just for him. No, I agree with him. I think I've tried to preach patience for long enough, and if you accept that what McBee's saying is correct with regards to you've got different parts, different people, different visions is correct, then if you were to set about changing that now, all you're going to do is exacerbate the problem. So I'm very much in the camp stick with Montgomery. Let him make the changes that he sees, that him and the club see that they want to change. Because, like, I was having to think about this before, like the players that we've got, like Montgomery doesn't have any player there that he signed. Like, he's promoted folk like Whitaker, for example, and Molotnikov, for example, and Landers to the first team squad. But everyone else has been signed by multiple other managers. Like, if you go through the side, like Doige was signed by Heckenbottom, Bente was signed by Johnson.
Yep.
And you could do that like throughout the entire squad, and you're like, fuck me, like what is it we're actually doing here? What is the vision? What's the plan? And one of the other things I was thinking about as well is that I don't think Hibs are in a position and are unlikely, especially when some of the investment that's been talked about is as low as has been quoted. I don't think we're going to get a change overnight. I don't think it's going to take a season for us to suddenly become this like amazing football side. If anything, what someone like Montgomery I think is capable of doing is assembling a team that'll probably take like maybe 2 or 3 seasons to actually reach its full potential. Not just like 2 or 3 windows. Like, it's going to take time because there's going to be like multiple parts. Like, there might be players that Johnson, Ross, Heckenbottom, whoever it is at side, that he said, actually, no, I can see you complementing my side, but there's other players that I need in there to kind of like what Colin's suggesting with regards to, I don't know, like runners, attacking midfielders, people that defend. But again, like, we don't have the resources to make that happen in one transfer window, in one season.
Managers really get 2 or 3 seasons before it starts working, so he needs to get
Didn't
dig out results before.
But why no buck the trend?
We would need to start seeing improvements gradual, though.
Aye, that's it.
You know what I mean?
So the progress
see the
is
full
important.
potential 3 seasons, but we need to see progress.
But we talked about this previously. Like, if you don't try and buck the trend, and you talk about sort of like, I completely accept your point. You need to start seeing improvements, but that's been a criticism, for want of a better word, that's been laid at previous managers' doors. Like, we need to see more of you. We need to see more of you. So all we do is we don't see that improvement. So we empty the manager, and we find ourselves in this position again somewhere else.
Where we started.
Aye, like we haven't improved for all the managers that we've sacked since Miller, and the amount of time that we've had, we haven't consistently improved upon our present position.
Joyous, eh? Right, let's get stuck into these talking points. Right, Ventus Plenty said in the second half, 2 times goal celebrations, 1 times 3 minutes long VAR check, 2 times length of Hibs injuries, 2 times length of Motherwell injuries. Only 5 minutes added on. I fully expected to see about 12 minutes. I was surprised when only 5 went up. I said before, I think the first of the Motherwell injuries, I think we're looking at 5 minutes injury time is what to expect. So when only 5 went up after those as well, I was like, right, how do you think that this works? I'd asked on Twitter a couple of weeks back, right, going back into the tinfoil hat conspiracy theories here, when I think Celtic were playing Kilmarnock and they put up 9 minutes injury time. And I can't mind there being a big injury in that one, right, to have caused it, right? But 9 minutes, Rangers and Celtic kind of frequently get upwards of 7 minutes injury time, when, especially if they're needing a result, right? Why do we get 5 minutes?
Somebody should sit and time it. I just dig in.
I was going to say just about exactly the same thing, Colin. I think there are supporters within Scottish football that would absolutely, if they were on the other side of the fence, who would be pouring over. They would have probably multiple legitimate streams set up in their house with stopwatches with multiple people saying, right, they got that amount of time and it was broadly correct and it wasn't correct over here. I genuinely don't know if the rules say that VAR checks should be added to the added time. I don't know if you had like your stopwatch out. I don't know how these things work.
They definitely do add them on, because you've seen it on the TV cam when they've been in contention, like the Aberdeen semi, when they took however long to figure out how that Boyle was offside. That got added on at the end, but it's so inconsistent with when they apply it and when they don't. I mean, it does my head in, but that should be a basic one for them to get right.
It should be simple.
Aye.
Only in case get somebody to time it.
Aye.
And then we can evidence. Other than that, we're just Howling at the Moon or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We want Hibs to be demanding the audio for the fucking injury time, and then
But that's the
fucking
referee
moan
that
when
does
it's
that.
not done that later on.
But
The
this
referee
is
does that, though,
He
isn't
has
it?
to communicate it to the fourth official, though, doesn't
Aye,
he?
but he
Doesn't
just
he
goes
shouts
5
over?
minutes.
Aye.
No, but
But
that's
is that
the,
not recorded, like the whole thing? So they know.
No, because he's just timing it on his watch and then going 5 minutes, so the boy
Aye.
can come out with the board.
I suppose.
I love how you made the motion to phone. Like that's
I
5
got
minutes.
that at work.
I was.
I
I
work
thought it was
now.
asking
Manager.
the rotary dialer.
I done that way. I did it at work the other week, and we went. No, we didn't
It's engaged.
say it's now.
Fuck's sake. The
Anyway.
Gil says Venti wasted in that position of an attacking player playing deep. I noticed that Jair gets stuck in, looks to win the ball and go forward. What about keeping Venti up front and playing Jair in the position Venti is currently in?
I don't know. I guess he's asking Benny to do that. Like he's to drop deep and create stuff or link the midfield with the attack and all that. So maybe he wants a striker rather than a midfielder doing it. And I don't know.
It seems fucking
It is
stupid.
awfully deep. It does feel
Aye.
really deep.
The issue I have with it is that we try to play wide, and the point of playing wide is then to get the ball into the box. And who you put in the ball into the box, if your midfielders, like your attacking your forwards, like an attacking midfielder, arriving late into the box. They're the one that should be there to fucking score the cross.
Do you know,
From the
though?
point of view. Sorry, Colin.
No, I was just going to say today there was one point when Venti was real deep, got the ball went wide. He wasn't bursting a gut to get in the middle. He could have got in the middle, but he didn't. He chose to jog up to the edge of the 18-yard box.
So that almost answers my question. I was going to ask on the basis that Venti's linking the midfield and the attack, and he drops a little bit deep, feeds someone like Tavares or Youan or whoever it happens to be the ball, and he's looking to get on the end of it to try and like arrive late in the box to score. What is it that's missing? Is he just not making the right decision? Is he being a little bit late and trying to get into the box? Is he a little bit too quick? What do you think?
I don't know. Well, whatever is not working. I just think if you're playing Venti and expecting to get goals from him, and maybe that's the thing as well, because Montgomery's protected him and praised him. Maybe protected is the wrong word, but he's praised him in the press about his overall contribution and said he wasn't bothered about him not scoring the goals as long as the team's doing it and all the rest of it. But if the team's not doing it and he's also not scoring goals, then you've got a problem. And he was brought in to score goals.
How similar would you say that Venti is to Le Fondre?
I think they're that similar at all.
The reason I was asking him is, and I know it's maybe a bit of a moot point because Le Fondre's out injured, and I don't know when it is that he's expected to be back. But when he came in, he did do that. He linked the midfield with the attack, and he would often be on the end of it, and he would be scoring goals. Aye. So if Venti's a different player entirely, are we expecting something that he's not there to do?
It could be that, John. Like it could be, and you'd have to think it was tactical. So if it wasn't tactical, he'd get dropped. You'd have to think, right? So if a player was consistently not doing what the manager's telling them to do, they come out the team. So you've got to think it's a deliberate way to play, and it gets frustrating for us as fans because you want to see your number 9 scoring the goals, especially when we paid a lot of money for him. But maybe
number 9. I actually hadn't even noticed the number on his shirt.
Yeah.
But even like the sort of traditional number 9 rather than the literal one. I'm sure he is number 9 anyway. But right, let's move on. Parfry's image says 14 points from 9 games this rotation with County away, Rangers home to come. Still not a good enough return to challenge for Europe. Today was better than most performances, but second goal was poor. Did they only have 5 players in our box?
I don't think it was much more from memory. My memory's shaky at best at times, but I don't remember it being from the replay and the lines that we were talking about. I don't remember the Hibs box being flooded with Motherwell players.
Nah, they definitely did.
It was just a few players challenging for the ball.
Yeah. We'll talk about the 14 points in 9 games and that. We'll talk about in extra time, I think. Alan Woodhouse said, scraped a point against a poor side, nowhere near enough goal threat. Venti has been hung out to dry in this formation. Jury very much out on Monty. Again, so we'll talk about Monty in extra time.
And is it the
20, I think
formation
we
or the
just
style of play that's hanging him out to dry? Because the style of play has him dropping deep, rather than. I mean, there's folk buying. We used to get hundreds of messages coming in saying we need to go 4-4-2. That
we did.
Right, we're going 4-4-2. Now we want to go fucking 4-3-3 or something, which we done under Johnson. Didn't work when we want to go 3-5-2. It's like, fuck's sake, man! It's just twisting numbers about.
On to the next point, and a nice good segue there, Colin. Andrew Brown said, is there reluctance to move from 4-4-2 holding us back now? Teams have worked us out and there's no plan B. Putting Youan to right back today was laughable. We need to get our better players in their best positions. On paper, we've a very good side in a 4-3-3 formation. So you could have answered that last one better for this one for Andrew Brown. I have to say, like, so I said to my son at 25 minutes into the game, saying, "What's working for us today? Like, why is today better than it has been?" And our conclusion was round pegs and round holes. So we didn't have Boyle trying to be a striker. We didn't have like Youan on the wrong wing, or kind of everybody was playing in the position that they're meant to play in. And it looked like it made a difference. Youan at right back, I can understand that Stevenson toiled when he came on at right back. I mean, although he's played that position before, there was one point I think we had the ball at the edge of their box on Stevenson's right foot to cross it. He tried that hard to put on his left. He lost the ball.
He'll not kick it. He'll not kick it with his right foot. It's unbelievable.
And they ended up in our box on the back end. Like, so I can understand him saying that you can't tolerate that at that level because it was causing us problems. So putting Youan in there, and I think we went to 3 centre halves at that point. I think.
Fish, I think, did they know? It was Stevenson and
right enough, aye.
Hanlon and Obita.
But Youan just sort of always went to like a wing back, and obviously he popped up to score the equaliser. So I could sort of forgive it because we didn't have any real other option on the right hand side at that point because
so Youan was playing right back when he scored the equaliser.
Aye, at the end.
Does that mean that Montgomery was vindicated by putting him there in a tactical shift?
I think if it's
I think it was tactical.
I think by that point it was just like I chucked the kitchen sink at it, wasn't
it? But that I think that goes back to a point I made in previous episodes where we find ourselves in a situation again, not so much through like we've got a thin squad and it's partly driven by players away on international duty, but also because of injuries building upon injuries. Mm-hmm. Like the squad is so thin. Yeah. How do we resolve that? Because that seems to that has haunted us for far too long.
Well, we've got 10 out on loan. So now somebody was saying to me the game 10 players out on loan, and I never fact checked it to count them. But I mean,
get them all back.
Definitely beef up the squad if we got it back in. I have to say I do agree with Andrew. Say like if you were to write down on paper our best team, a 4-3-3 would be how I would get our best players on the pitch together.
Aye, that was the formation we played when the last manager got sacked.
Aye.
Yeah, and I think if we played 4-3-3 and if we were going through a spell where we were encountering difficulties, whether it was through injuries or results or whatever it happened to be, it would be, well, you need to go 3-5-2 or you need to go 4-4-2.
Of course it is. Whatever you're not doing becomes the right thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And the right thing at the moment is to win games. That's really what it all boils down to. It's not about the formation, it's not about the personnel, it's about winning the game, and we're not winning games.
Right, Albert says, good to see McKirdy back. Here's hoping he'll kick on now. Hope so. Really like the guy, and we all have to remember he's still only a young lad who's been through a major trauma. Spot on. It was good to see McKirdy back. That's probably the highlight of the day. Tony Swanson, although Stevenson cracked one off the bar as well, didn't he? If we never mentioned that when we were talking about it, that would have been a nice goal to go in.
He wouldn't have hit the bar if he'd used his right foot. Just saying.
Wouldn't have reached it. Wouldn't have done
it. Would.
Aye.
What are you going to ask, Colin?
No, I can't even. Doesn't matter. Carry on.
All right.
Millions in we're running at time.
Aye. Tony Swanson said, need some strength with balls in defence and midfield. Passing was atrocious today. Why is everything up the wings? We need to vary the play more. Apart from that, good to see Youan scoring and Harry back playing.
That's interesting. That's what I was going to say, right? Everything's up the wings. See, what we lack, somebody will take a shot outside the box. Maybe
Aye.
It's a little bit of fun. I think Youan had a couple of chances a day. Could have maybe got a shot away if he was quick enough, and he goes out wide, and then put it wide, and then put the box, and then nothing happens. And fucking shoot. You might get a
I think-
deflection. It might just bounce in off somebody.
Aye.
I think that ties in a little bit with what we were saying last week about missing sort of specialists. I want to say there was a short free kick where Newell gets something that was half approaching a shot, half approaching a cross, but it was clear that he doesn't really have the power for the edge of the area to have like a proper dig. The goal against Lucerne on the side, that was just kind of like neatly placed into the top corner.
Pass.
Aye.
Yeah.
But I completely agree with you. Like someone having a crack is
You
just
have a shot. Somebody needs to shoot.
Yeah.
I do like the sort of inventiveness we've started off corners and free kicks. We've done it at the Derby as well. I don't know if we really mentioned it after the Derby game, John. I can't remember, but hopefully one of them will come off at some point. We've not scored for anything yet, but it's better than just lumping it in the box. Now, we do it now and again, but even when you put one in, just batter in the box, they put in at a lower pace, lower as well, which is equivalent, I suppose, having a shot from outside the box. You're just looking for somebody to get a touch on it and deflect it towards goal. But they're not just these, just kick it in and see if somebody can get on the end of it, which rarely happens a goal.
Yeah.
So some nice ideas in that. You could just hopefully they fucking start
pay off. It was good you mentioned about the shooting from outside the area. My friend Richard Harkis has been on the podcast before. Had messaged me from, I'm not sure where in the world he was watching the game today, saying the same things. Like, you just need somebody to take a crack at the distance. When nothing's happening, just have a go. And
it was Stevenson hitting the bar that made me, like, when we were speaking about it, it made me think, fucking nobody else done it. Like, the one with the weakest shot in the team. So,
you say that, but Stevenson's never scored a bad goal for Hibs.
I would argue he has deflections and all sorts.
Aye, they're no off screamers, John. There's some good ones in there, but they're no off peaches. Anyway, we've not got time to dwell on Stevenson's goal tally, right?
I will die on this one.
Parmaham too said, I'm bored of Hibs at the moment. Sounds terrible, but it's true. The team has zero passion or style. Monty plays terrible football, but hopefully he can turn it around. Ventus Plant said, I'd like to see Youan as the main man up front. Whitaker started well until Bayer. So you pronounce it Bayer? But moved on to the right to target him, although he fell apart a wee bit after that. Also would have liked Venti taking off Eller from McKirdy. Apart from that, though, I thought they played really well. It's kind of contrast when they one saying sort of playing really well, other one saying boring. Is it a bit of both at Hibs at the moment?
But there was a comment there about not having a style. I think we've got a style. I just think at the moment it's a wee bit dull, predictable, and it might be because we've not got, the players we've got available, or the players we've got. What was the second part of the question? That was the style part. What was your actual question?
I was saying we've got like sort of two extremes. They're saying we're good in bits but boring. Is that a sum us up at the moment? Like you see it in flashes, but other times it's hard work.
Aye. Because we do play some nice stuff, but it's in around is it the middle third they call it? It's not in the final third.
Aye.
I think we've got a bit of a situation whereby we've not really had much to shout about for a while. Like we've gone through a succession of managers, so any manager that finds himself like Montgomery in a bit of a sticky patch with regards to injuries and squad depth and what have you, there's next to no sympathy for him. I think back to like previous years where you or at least I would turn up to games like, oh fuck, such and such is injured. Like I remember like Boozy playing at sweeper against Rangers, for example. I forget the exact reason for it, but if memory serves, it was kind of enforced.
It's an end of season game as well, wasn't it?
He did quite well though, didn't he? He kind of strolled that. Right, anyway, listen, we're almost out of time. We've still got a few to get through, so sort of quick answers on these ones if you can, guys. Right. Neil Renton said, I'm hoping Hibs don't start a dog walking business with their inability to hold on to a lead. And somebody's replied there, I think the reply comes from 5 years ago, just asking for its partner back. Dave Graham said, squad is lacking, young boys are a positive, need a driving force in midfield. Paul Hanlon was outstanding. Any surprise that Dave calling out Paul Hanlon is outstanding?
Not at all. Did they mention the goal?
No, he didn't mention the goal.
No. Stuart on that topic said, this is from Bob Sideshow, Said, apart from his unfortunate mistake for the goal, Hanlon strolled through that game. Levitt is just not good enough for Hibs. Is it Montgomery or Venti that's the problem? I think we kind of spoke about that already. Jez said, I'm a bit down about us at the moment. I'm not expecting much from this transfer window, and this style of play is shite, to be honest. Playing from the back with a higher line, with some variety in our attacking approach, was easier on the eye in the first half, but we seemed to revert to type in the second half. Oh, hold on, that's 1 out of 2. I'm not against playing from the back, but really do think we need variety. Think a through ball wouldn't go amiss either. A lot of playing the ball at feet to players that struggle to beat a man with McKirdy's that pace more effectively with a through ball, especially down the wing. I'm just not watching anything that's enjoyable at the moment. I keep getting told that's a modern game, but we need variety in the game. If this is the way football was heading, it's going to be boring as fuck, in my opinion. Still Hibs, just on a bit of a downer about this at the moment.
To be fair,
Uh-huh.
that's actually one of the criticisms at times when you see like the big games on Sky for down south is that like I think was it Liverpool Man United? It was like 0-0.
Yeah.
And people were saying this, and that's the modern game. That's like coached to the nth degree.
Yeah,
I totally agree with you with the passing. See the amount of times we pass and the pass is under hit, or the pass to feet when you want I was always right. I'm not saying like my kids' coaches were better at coaching than professional coaches. No implying that at all. But it was one of the earliest things I remember being coached was passing to somebody's stride. Like, so you play it in front of them for them to run onto the ball. And the amount of times like our attacks slow down because we play it to them. And then so they have to wait, receive the ball, and it gives everybody an opportunity to come back. We hold on. I think there was I think it was a beta in the first half, I think, on the left, picked up the ball. In fact, it was Hanlon, and he played it to Beta eventually. If he played it first time, but Beta's got the run on the boy, he's got a bit of space, and he could have kind of drove up the wing. But with dwelling, it was only like a second and a half, but it's enough at this level for the Motherwell player to close down Abita. So when Abita gets the ball, instead of being able to run into space, he has to go back to Hanlon again because he's under pressure. And it's those wee moments in games where if we were really clinical and confident and playing fluently, that ball just gets hit in front of Abita. He runs on and we're on the attack and we're on the front foot. It frustrates the life out of me because you think these are, I say it's basics, obviously different watching it in the stand to play in the game, but they should be able to kind of pick a pass in front of a player for them to run on.
Absolutely, yes. That's why we need better players.
Right, Keith Robertson said the result fairly reflected the game. Still have issues defensive-wise as well as being clinical. Great to see the young lads getting more game time as well as McKirdy's return. International break can't come quick enough. Roll on the January window. Chief Brody said in complete control, then Kettlewell makes a tactical change after 30 minutes and we don't seem able to react. Why was Doidge on the end of all our chances and not Venti? It's interesting that, because it was the half hour, and I kind of put it down to Motherwell scored and Hibs Heeds going. But if it was, are we no giving Motherwell credit for making a change that Hibs didn't respond to?
Aye, possibly. I read somebody saying as well, Kettlewell was at this players to get the ball at the right hand side all the time as well, our right hand side. Obviously try to target the Whittaker and Youan, I suppose.
Right, Rafa has said, let's be honest, we don't play 4-4-2, we play 4-4-1-1. We should be playing Jago beside Newell and Levitt where Venti plays and get Venti back up top. Most of Levitt's good stuff at United came in the advanced position. Christopher Bonney said, honestly not a fan of this slow build-up from the back tactic that we seem to be doing. The most exciting moments of this game were when we had bursts of speed pushing towards goal. David Anson says, wherever we get the ball to our wingers, there's not a link between them and our strikers most of the time, so we hope to do something magic or just go backwards. Gary McDonald, are we top 6? Next window might determine this and some players' futures. We're just in the top 6, I think Aberdeen and Dundee are sitting, I think, 2 behind us with a game in hand each. Although they've got to play each other. So I don't know if that's the game in hand. In which case they can't both go above us.
2 games in hand though.
Two
so
dates.
One of them.
So they could both go above us, in theory.
Yeah.
So we're top 6 but sort of clinging by our fingernails. Kaiser Soze said, Obita put in some great crosses today, but no one there for any of them, which is now a major issue alongside the season-on-season issue of conceding soft goals. Venti needs to be told to operate between the posts, not dicking about in his own half. Joe France said Venti hasn't shown up for a long time, but youth players look very promising. Chris said really good all-round performance, but it was Motherwell we were playing and they're crap. Venti needs to play as a striker. And what do you do with Boyle when he returns? Hibs on tour says not angry anymore, just disappointed. Right, last couple. Crawford Bridge says, I have to say I'm bored rigid by this formation play. Anyone can see it's not been working for weeks, so why it doesn't change it is beyond me. 2 in midfield is a joke and we're so exposed. It's not true. Also, I've been keeping quiet for weeks about Levitt, but enough is enough. He does nothing in games and hides most of the time. Apart from one lovely pass for Jair about 6 weeks ago, he's been pony. Molotnikov did more in 20 minutes today than Levitt has done all month. And final word to Benny Brazil said, when will it be acceptable to question the manager? He is defended by some like he is Ancelotti. Why is this shite being tolerated? His appointment was a mistake, and the sooner it is fixed, the better. Loads of tweets slagging our brace scoring forwards for celebrating his goals instead of grabbing the ball for the restart. In what world can he be blamed but a novice shite manager gets protected? So, Benny, we are going to talk about Montgomery in extra time. That's one for our subscribers, and I guess we'll cover it over the next few weeks on these episodes as well as we go into the break. So, that's us getting out of time for tonight's show. Like I said, if you're a subscriber, you'll have extra time landing on Wednesday morning. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks to everybody who sent in the talking points. Some absolute beezers in there. Colin, John, thanks very much for your time. I was meant to say there's a couple of folk had asked about our theme tune as well, and it's Tom Fairney, his artist, for it. I got asked that, and to say hello to a couple who over from. There was I forgot where they were from. What's this, Swedish couple that we were sitting beside my dad and uncle today, and said they were going to tune in to listen to it. So, hello if you've listened. Right, thanks for tuning in, and all the best for 2024, and we'll see you next time.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water, no.